Take a ride in the sky on a ship that's designed. All your dreams will come true. Riding high.
Hello, everybody. It is Friday Eve, one of my favorite days of the week. How is everyone doing? Hello, Brad and Jim and Herbert. Appreciate you guys being here. Everybody here and see me okay? Rocky Mountain Chainsaw in the house. I love it. I love it. Anybody, by the way, know what this BCSP stands for? Thank you, Thomas. Stands for Beaver Creek Ski Patrol, which I am going to be trying to be part of this winter, which would be awesome. It's something I've always wanted to do, either that or be a ski instructor in my spare time. So very excited about that potentially happening. So today, what is going on right now, guys? What is going on? Well, NVIDIA is behind us. I don't want to say it was a dud. I don't want to say it was a non-event. It's a huge event, but you know what? It's pretty much intact. I mean, the stock's down $2 right now, 1%. It was down more earlier. It actually flipped positive. I think the bottom line is like we talked about yesterday, the amount that NVIDIA accounts for in the S&P and the NASDAQ, and then really the direction of the entire AI trade, I think that's all intact. I think it's good. It's definitely all intact. So that is behind us now. And now we have got a lot of data points, a lot of things coming up here. And now that everybody is smashed away, I am going to bring in my partner, the man you guys all know, Mr. Mike Shore. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
So we were talking about NVIDIA over the last few days, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like the bar is set so darn high that, you almost don't want it to meet it. And it did meet it, and yet it still came down, but it's coming back. And so, I mean, that I think is great news for the market in general. But then going into tomorrow, we got the preliminary PCE numbers, and we got GDP numbers today. So we had GDP numbers that were in line or higher. We got initial PCE numbers that were in line or a little bit lower, which is good. That means that things, growth is staying there, and costs in general across the board are in general coming down. Now tomorrow, we get to actually see the actual PC numbers, not the preliminary numbers. And that'll be more telling. And then we also have Chicago PMI, which is not a big deal. But then we have University of Michigan consumer sentiment, because we know what the biggest driver of the U.S. economy is, and that is consumer spending. And if that falls off, because remember, our last report, that dipped badly. We should hope, and I would expect for that to be in line or a little bit higher. And I don't know how far away we want to get from each other, but we got unemployment coming out next Friday, not tomorrow, next Friday, which we know kind of the debacle of last Friday with very low numbers and very big revisions down. Do those cyclically come back, or is there something more systemic about the labor situation in the United States? And I'm thinking and hoping that it'll be kind of a neutral to maybe even a little bit better number. I don't see a whole lot of risks to the downside.
No, unless it's a major uptick. Like if we see a gain of 200,000, let's say,
yeah,
we will see the market sell off, because all of a sudden, oh man, that shift towards the cut in September and blah 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 blah.
Right.
Boy, that's really going to put a question into that.
Yeah, that's true. And then of course anything outside, fundamentally Russia, Ukraine, tariff stuff, always sitting in the back of our minds. But yeah, if it's a huge uptick, that may take those rate cuts for the September meeting off the board. I just I don't see it that way.
No, I don't either.
I'll be wrong.
I really don't either. But the bottom line is, now that we're passing the video, PCE tomorrow, once we get back from the holiday weekend next week, because remember, everybody, we're off on Monday because of Labor Day. Okay. Summer's done. I mean, I know September 21st, 22nd, whatever is the real end of summer, but summer's finished, right? And in terms of the markets, boy, there is an awful lot on the market's plate coming up starting next week. And the first and most important one is that jobs report. But then we've got the Fed, we've got another tariff deadline, and we've got earnings starting all back up again. So, what's next for the market? Mike, what do you think?
I think the traders are coming back because after the last 2 weeks, it seems like, except for you and me and Charlie and Howard and Mike and Dan, everybody else has been gone. We have, getting kids off to college, getting kids on the school bus, trying to get that last type of, beach trip in, whatever it is after Labor Day. And it probably won't be Tuesday because, I don't know, traders tend to extend these type of things for a day. But I think that we are going to see more activity. I mean, if you look at volumes over, the past even month, lackluster and choppy markets and everything, it'll get back to normal. Sometimes the summer is great trade, and there's no indication of when that's going to be. The first part of the summer was great trade. The last part of the summer, at least from my perspective, was this choppy, low volume, I call it island hopping trade, where, we just sit there and you're like, okay, we're not going anywhere. And then binarily, we just go up or go down. And you're like, what the heck happened? And you're looking through and nothing happened other than there's just not a liquidity in there. And so I think that next week that we are going to see the big boys and girls back in the market and be serious for the rest of 2025.
Now, I know for you, Mike, kind of day trading, you don't like those markets, right? Where there's really
I hate them.
No direction. I mean, it's terrible. I would say for us, though, what we were doing with, more swing trades and stuff, we've actually had a great summer, both start and recently for that. Maybe it hasn't been quite as busy. Maybe we haven't had quite as many signals. However, I think there's been a lot of opportunity for the way we trade, and I am so excited for the rest of the year because I just think that it's just going to get busier and busier and busier.
Yeah, you've really killed it. We're holding well, and that's what I have. The hard thing, and as a disciplined trader, is not to trade. Right? We've been doing this for however long, a long time. And I'm sitting here and I want to trade. So I can only imagine what a young trader will say. I don't want to say young, a newer trader will be. And they just want to trade all the time. And sometimes I'm going to steal something from Dan O'Brien, sit on hands, SOH. And it's hard to do because I'm here to trade. And so sometimes you have to do that. And that's where that mix of being able to swing trade sometimes, day trade sometimes, or that one of those sides can save you.
Yeah, there's no question that discipline comes into our environment in a low trade environment, in a low volume environment. And like you said, especially if you're a newer trader, you want to have the action. You want to, you want to have the juices flowing. You want to have your skin in the game, and it's very difficult for people to not get caught up with FOMO, fear of missing out, feeling like you got to get in something when, as you just said, and you quoted Dan O'Brien, that sometimes the best thing to do is sit on your hands and not do anything and never force anything. I'm sure, Ty, you just responded also. I am sure every single person that is in here right now has experienced at some point making a trade that you knew you shouldn't have because you did it just because you were either bored, there wasn't much else going on, right? So exactly, Jake. And Dorothy, 1,000% that is what you should be doing. You should paper trade until you are comfortable. And there's no timeline. There is no timeline for when you are comfortable. It could be next week. It could be 2 weeks from now. It could be a month from now. It could be 6 months from now, right? You need to be comfortable. And the bottom line is, regardless of what that time frame is, the market's still going to be here. The opportunities are still going to be here. So, Dorothy, you're absolutely approaching things the right way here. So, Mike wants to just discuss a little bit for those of you that are not part of what he does, okay, a little bit about what he does. Because in Mike's short-term trading and day trading, okay, he has now just added in an incredibly powerful tool. He's going to be talking more about it tonight because Mike has a live Webby tonight, but he just wants to introduce a little bit, talking about how his pattern finder is really making a big impact.
Yeah. And so what pattern finder does, I always tell the short-term options room, I only have 2 eyes, 4 if I have my glasses on, and 2 hands. So what this does for me is it identifies what I know that I'm already looking for, because, well, I think my approach and pattern finder's approach are closely aligned. And so what it does is 2 things. And we'll talk about this more tonight, but it goes out there and it identifies trend lines. It looks at every point over whatever time frame that I'm looking at. And it identifies all the trend lines and it finds the best fit. And it does that on the upside, the downside. So that identifies relatively short-term support and resistance. Another thing that it does is that it identifies congestion zones. And by a congestion zone, what I mean is localized highs and lows. So highs and lows that have maybe not to the penny, but very, very closely are aligned. And then there is an inordinate amount of volume that goes along with that. And what that does, that is actually, I think, even more indicative of successful trades that we've had using this AI to identify where support and resistance is. And then, of course, I'm always looking at my other charts. Does it line up? And when you get another piece of data, if I say, the VWAP is support here, and I look over at Pattern Finder, and I also see a congestion zone or a trend line support, you're like, yeah, that's 3 points of data that normally 2 of those we wouldn't have had. And then you can get great market news. You can get specific news on the stock that you happen to be looking at. You can get where the stock is lined up in its particular sector, things like that. So it's a very powerful tool, and especially if you are. I always like it because it usually comes back with what I'm already looking at. But if you are new to technical analysis, it even gives you from the AI summary, it gives you what you should be looking at. That you're like, well, I just see still. I'm brand new at this. I'm looking at a bunch of lines here. I really don't understand it. It encapsulates it and puts it in literal, normal, very simple English. Here's where support is. Here's where resistance is. Where else, what would the trade plan be? Gives you that on top of it. So it's very, very powerful.
And one thing about this this program that Mike is using to just enhance the short-term trading is, right? There's all sorts of AI, right? Quote unquote AI programs out there, right? If I were you, I would not count on an AI program. I would not count on anything that is going to automatically trade for you. The absolute best, we have proven this with what Charlie does with AI, what Dan does with his Karnak system. We have really proven that when you can combine the AI part of things, which is giving you pattern generation, removing some of the guesswork, it is really mapping out those high probability trading opportunities. When you can match that with the human interaction, okay, that by far, my opinion, is the absolute best way to go. So that's what this does. Mike is never going to just see, what's on this pattern and say, that's the trade, right away. He's going to evaluate it. He's going to look at it. And so the fact that you get both of those combined here, I think is huge. For those of you, how many of you actually are part of Charlie's AI program or Dan's in the futures program with the Karnak system? Because I think what you will see and understand is that human interaction with the AI generation, and you guys feel you're not going to hurt my feelings, you're not going to hurt Mike's feelings, Jake, Ty, and anybody else. If you want to post up something different than what I'm saying, okay. But if you think that the combination with that human interaction is really successful and really the way to go, then that we have the data to back that up. I mean, that's what I'm saying here, and that's what Mike's going to present. But before we go any further here, guys, why do we have Chief Illini up here today? Because Mike and I both went to the University of Illinois. So today's word of the day, ILLINI. Oh, come on, Coach Kim. That's not tell me what's wrong with U of I.
Yeah, condolences.
I know. What's that all about? Wow, that's like a shot to the heart here.
Sounds like an Ohio State fan is what
That or Michigan must be. Gotta be. You'll notice you don't hear us Illini's talking talking trash about anyone else. Hi, Bear. Bear, everybody want to see you? There we go. There, I don't know if you can see. There's Bear.
It's awesome.
Okay. Extra entry. I love that, Bear, by mentioning Chief Illiniwek. One of my nephews was actually chief for 2 years. Obviously, well before they discontinued the chief there.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yes, he was. Yes, he certainly was.
I don't know why you've kept that a secret for 30 years.
I've got the pictures. I've got everything. I've got the proof. All right. Love it, guys. Your wife, see all my hobbies. I'm not sure what your name is. She's got to be a good one. She's got to be a good one. All right. So tonight, this is what Mike is going to talk about. Okay. He's not going to just say, yeah, this system is the best because X, Y, Z. He is actually going to go through how the system works, okay, how you can manage your risk with the system and be in and out. And literally this program of Mike's, thank you, Brad. This program of Mike's is something that is actually designed to trade in a very small amount of time, hour a day, 90 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So if anybody is interested, let me post up. I think I posted up the link, but let me do it again here. Hang on. Here it is again. There we go. So, Mike, what do you see going back here? What do you see for the markets the rest of the year? Do you think we make new highs? Do we grind? Do we have a pullback first? Are we, there's all different opinions out there. And obviously so much hinges on what the Fed does with rates,
Right.
what happens with tariffs still.
Regardless of the trajectory, I think that until I'm, if you see me on TV or if you hear any of this stuff, I am either bullish or I am buying dips until I'm wrong.
Yep.
I don't see. I mean, of course, we don't know. We don't see into the future, but I don't see a whole lot of data that's telling me, wow, this is just because it's higher doesn't mean it's overvalued. Maybe
exactly.
Things you're getting are actually worth less than what they should be, and everybody. It's hard and I'm not saying to go out there and buy highs, buy new highs, but definitely on any sort of pullback, because we were talking yesterday with NVIDIA. What did we get down to, 172?
We were talking about the 170 area, and I think overnight it was 171.96.
There you go. And I was like, if it gets to 170, we buy the you-know-what out of it.
Yep.
I got 0 of those, by the way. but that
you and me both.
That's the track. And I'm not saying that we might get rolled over. We might get rolled over on something like that. But that's trading. And so until that happens, and until there's a fundamental reason other than just getting forced out of the market, I'm not changing my position. I'm not just buying, like I said, I'm not just buying new highs and everything, but every time we get a meaningful pullback, it's gonna buy. So stay with it unless there's a reason not to.
And I totally agree. And that's also, though, why when there's been opportunity, we do have positions, a QQQ put spread, an S&P put spread, some VIX calls on the upside, because, again, you go back to the old adage of buy when you can, not when you have to. So why not buy a little bit of that protection when premium volatility is really cheap, which even more so allows us to get in and buy these dips and to get into bullish positions when they're setting up. So that's all part of it. And like Mike said, at some point, the strategy is not going to work anymore, right? At some point, the landscape may shift. Okay. Until then, though, we do what is working. We follow the trend. And then as trading goes, okay, you have one or two, maybe trades that go against you because the winds are starting to shift. That's part of trading, and then you adapt to it.
Right. You win 7 times, you have to give up on 2 or 3. That's a winning formula.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, I'm totally with you that even though I haven't gotten in on any of your shorts, but I don't.
Well, you could get in better now probably, because I think the markets are higher than where we get in on the shorts.
But I don't hold as many long-term positions
Correct.
as you. So if I'm gonna pick and choose, I'll get in on something short, but maybe tomorrow.
Doesn't even have to be tomorrow, but I just think that coming off of the holiday weekend into next week, we're like we said, we are going to see things really, really picking up. All right. The wheel is closed. Mike L., how are we looking on that? Are we almost ready to put the wheel up here today? I hope. And then again, PSA, everybody, markets are closed next Monday. Tomorrow morning, depending on what PCE is, we could see a good move in the morning. Okay. I would fathom to say that by 10 o'clock in the morning, Central Time, so an hour to 2 hours in on the trading day, things are going to almost come to a halt just because of the holiday weekend.
I always say, don't be standing close to the exits.
You could get run over.
You're gonna get run over.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You'll see live from the floor tomorrow. I think things are really going to thin out. Market makers are leaving. The big institutional people, they're clicking off their computers for the day. They'll get the moves in the morning. They'll see what PCE was, what the impact is, and they'll get those moves, and that's it.
That's it.
So be prepared, though, everybody, because next week, the big jobs number on Friday, okay, and then we get a lot of Fed speak, and then they go quiet because their next Fed meeting, I want to say, is the 19th, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere thereabouts. Maybe it's this. I don't know. I have to look at the exact date. But we will get a lot of Fed speak before they go into their quiet period. And, who knows what's going to happen here. All right. Let's do this. We are going to get the wheel up here. The wheel's pretty well filled today, too. I was hoping to get Chief Illini in there, but yes, the market is closed on Monday. Yes, that is correct. All right. Let's give, you know what, Mike? Maybe we don't even want to do the wheel. Maybe we just want to give it out to, I forgot who the person was that said his wife went to Illinois. That wouldn't be fair, but yeah, I'm going to show my bias today.
That is a C-suite decision. That is above my pay grade. So if we can just get the CEO up here to give the okay, I'm fine with that.
Here, Barry, you want to come up here? All right, let's give it a whirl here, guys. Wouldn't that be funny if this is the Illini person? Who do we have? David, Deb, Dorothy, Elisa.
It was Dorothy, but
Dorothy
was big on her comments today.
You know what? That is very fitting. Dorothy, I'm hoping you are still in the house. Let us know if you are still here, Dorothy. You have got to be here to win. There you are. Yes, Dorothy.
There you go.
Unbelievable. Okay, please send me an email right here. prosperswag@prospertrading.com. Shoot me an email that has your mailing address, size swag. We'll get something out to you. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate everyone being here. Again, anybody that is interested in finding out a little bit more about what Mike does and the AI program that Mike has brought into the short-term options, okay, here is a link for everybody. That will be live tonight at 7 o'clock Central Time. Mike, as always, appreciate you joining us today.
That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. I know I'll be there tonight with you, and everybody else, hopefully you'll be there, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.